Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WildWeiler Weekly Wrap. As always, I am WildWeiler. They made me go into the office this week. You know, that place that many people worked from before the pandemic and then went back to after the pandemic, but some of us don't have to go back yet because our bosses started working remotely and then shut down the offices in the cities that they live in, so it's hard for them to instantiate a work from the office policy when they don't have to. That might be a just my company thing because other people I know, their companies are going back to the office, but mine hasn't been. But I had to go back, and it kind of sucked. I mean, we got a lot of work done, but I was like working long days. That made me tired. But, you know, whatever. That's why we're going to just go ahead and dive straight into my most serious topic this week. What if I told you Dairy Queen wants to kill you? That's right, you heard it here from the dog himself. Dairy Queen wants to kill you. In a case of what I'm going to call cross-media marketing hell, there's a Superman movie out, I think. I think it's out now, or maybe it's been out. I'm not fully sure, but there's a Superman movie. And Dairy Queen is cross-marketing with this new Superman movie, which I'm not going to be talking about. I haven't seen the movie. I don't know anything about the movie. I'm going to be talking about Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is selling, for a limited time, the Superman cake batter sugar cookie dough blizzard treat. First of all, too long of a name. But you did hear that all correctly. This is one of Dairy Queen's signature blizzard treats, but it has cake batter and sugar cookie dough in it. That's two types of raw food in an ice cream treat. What is wrong with everybody over at Dairy Queen that's like, you know what? You know what? Superman wants you to eat raw food, and we're going to sell it to you. Like, if you already have cake batter and you already have sugar cookie dough, just make a cake and some cookies, man. You don't need to like mix that all together, all that raw food together, and then take that unholy nightmare and pour ice cream into it. And then I guess just like hold it upside down outside the drive-up window because Dairy Queen does that now. And how does that even work? Cake batter flows. Cookie dough kind of goes meh, you know. So what are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know why. Why is this happening to us? I know that Dairy Queen is not giving you what they say they are when they're giving you cake batter, sugar cookie dough. Like, I get that it's not really that, but also, then don't call it that. Or maybe it is. I mean, when was the last time you got an ingredients list on something you bought at a fast food restaurant? Somehow, Dairy Queen is managing to sell something with two raw foods in it, and we're all buying it. And I don't believe there's a lot of truth in advertising left, so once again, I doubt that this is really cake batter and really sugar cookie dough. More like it tastes like those things. But have you tasted cake batter? It's gritty and nasty and tastes like raw eggs with sugar in it. It's not great. On that note, I don't know what is going on in Superman that makes people want to pour raw eggs and sugar down their gullet. I don't know what superpower of his compels us to do that, but I'm just going to assume that that's what the new Superman movie is. It's just 2 hours of Superman running around pouring from an old-timey, like, galvanized steel bucket, raw eggs and granulated sugar just straight into the throats of people. You know, make them grow strong, 1950s style or something. So, you know, I guess go to Dairy Queen if you want a bunch of raw baking ingredients mixed right into your ice cream. And Dairy Queen, you're the one that named it this. So if you're upset with anything I said, number one, I will take this video down for $2,000 in the flamethrower burger coupons. Okay? So, like, we'll start there. But other than that, I'm just going off of the words that you put on your advertisements. So don't come at me. now with the more serious news out of the way, I went to a musical this week, specifically Anastasia, the musical, which is a musical based off of the movie, the animated movie Anastasia. Now, most of you don't know this. The movie Anastasia is actually based off of basically nothing. Yeah, it's like fan fiction to paper over some really bloody stuff that happened in human history. But the musical version is supposed to be, more accurate to the timeline, very least. It's being produced, and traveling. It's been out since 2016. My local summer theater company is doing it. And it's a great, 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 great thing to do. Go to your local summer theater company's shows. One note up top, no evil bats. So I don't know how you could say it's more accurate. I mean, obviously, undead Rasputin is involved in the story. That's the true meaning of Christmas in Russia, obviously. But yeah, no, as a musical, it's good. There's a lot of cool technical singing. There's a lot of like almost bops, if you will, which is to say, I'm really struggling to get any one of the songs like lodged in my head because it keeps getting kicked out by Far From the Home I Love from Fiddler on the Roof. So I don't know what that says about me or Anastasia. That the song I remember most from it is from a different musical because that musical also has Russian women and trains. And I suppose that's what I got. That's what's going on in my head. Like I said, for those of you that don't know, the story of Anastasia is an interesting one. It's about a long-lost princess, treasure, betrayal, something, I don't know. But it is also alternate history fan fiction taken to a very absurd level, especially given the circumstances. And the circumstances, if you don't know, are during the Bolshevik Revolution, the Tsar and his family are murder executed. And what I mean by that is, I personally would say the Tsar was executed. His children were murdered. But, and this is very crucial, there's a lot going on here, and I am not a peasant living in 1917, and therefore might not be qualified to weigh in on the situation, other than to say the musical doesn't either. They just do it with one big blackout effect and we're good. We don't even get to the execution part, So I mean, it's just one day they're in the palace, next day Anastasia's a street sweeper. So huzzah. Needless to say, the family-friendly musical Anastasia is not the best place for a historical deep dive on the Bolshevik Revolution. To the musical's credit, its point is that it's more important to find yourself than tell other people who you think you are. And that's a really important story, and with all the marketing of princess stuff going to young girls, that's an important story for them to hear. Unfortunately for Anastasia, specifically right now, is it can't escape its own framing. Fundamentally, it's about a royal who has been ousted, and she's the titular character, and therefore we're rooting for the royals, which is tough. We're meant to feel for the Romanovs, and the whole musical is very pro-monarchy. There's a whole song where the exiled nobility basically complain that all they have left to do is to drink endlessly and party in Paris, when they'd rather just be drinking endlessly and partying back in Russia. So they haven't even really learned their lesson post-revolution. And it just doesn't come off right in the current times with a musical fundamentally about, man, it was kind of great when the same family ruled a large chunk of the planet for 300 years. When you look at the current tech billionaires trying to build a techno-feudalist society, so like, and that's the framing. It's not like what's happening in the musical, but it does make the story harder to swallow. I am not going to get into this on YouTube. I am not super qualified to get into this on YouTube. But the channel Revolutionary Thought, TH0T for those of you spelling, does a good deep dive. They are on it. Maybe perhaps much more the other way. If the musical is pro-monarchy, they are way in the pro-communist sphere, which is not me saying that is bad so much as I am saying that is their bias. So if you go into it knowing that, hopefully you can understand what your own bias is. And what I would encourage you to do, if you watch the video that I am linking now, I'd encourage you to watch it, and if something like rubs you wrong, go learn more about that thing. Great old deep dive. You should check it out. Back to Anastasia. Anastasia's great. The music is great. The songs are bold. The singing is really good. The singing, like I said, up top, there's not really a song that's like stuck in my head, but all of the voices are big, and all of the songs are technically impressive, I should say, if not lyrically memorable. That's maybe the hardest part. There's a ballet in Act 2 where they get an actual set of ballet dancers to do ballet stuff, and the things people can do with their body as a performing art tool is inspiring. And so there is a lot of that in this musical. There is a lot of really cool stuff going on that feels period correct, even though it might not necessarily be period correct. All of my complaints about the musical are simply about its subject matter and its framing. No matter what, we should all be supporting our local arts right now, like we really should be. So I don't regret seeing it. I do have major problems with its pro-monarchy message because I'm not a huge fan of monarchs here. That's why I'm an emperor. Wait, that didn't come off right. Netflix added the first 2 seasons of the neo-western series Dark Winds. The show is good, everybody. The show is really good. It follows 3 Navajo tribal police officers in the 1970s as they deal with being tribal police officers in the 1970s. Now, here's the deal. If you don't know any sort of Native Americans or First Nations people, if you're up in Canada, you know, I get it. It's hard. We grow up in bubbles and you don't always control who you meet. I had the privilege of having a artist in residency program that allowed me to become very exposed over the past year to Native culture. And first of all, I'll say, like, everything I learned in school was wrong. Like, just straight up wrong. Just straight up wrong. So that's why Dark Winds is, I think, pretty good, because it's a police procedural neo-western. It's not really procedural. It's just a police show. Neo-western. But it takes very good care to be sure it's teaching us things from the Native community and culture's point of view. And it does so in a way that isn't framing everything as an us against them kind of narrative. And by us, I mean me, a white person, and them, a Native culture that has been here since time immemorial. Which I feel is kind of the weird problem with, like, Longmire, if you ever watched it, where there's some bits about Longmire is actually equally good to everybody, but there was always this tension that felt like it was being invalidated on the side of the oppressed. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you watch both Longmire and Dark Winds, you will understand this feeling. And for that reason, I say Dark Winds is great, because it is literally contrasting a very similar show in a very good way. I don't want to talk much more about Dark Winds other than to say it has a very complicated plot that pays off. It has a very compelling cast of characters that you fall in love with. And I don't want to oversell it, but I will say I recommend you watch it. I really do. All of the show is about human beings, you know, and it's not one of those where, like, we're all human beings, but we are, and therefore everything we do is very human. So it's not that our humanness erases the sins that we commit against each other. It's that our humanness means that we all do things very similarly because we all feel the same way and we all are. And it's very good. That does it for this week. And that's that. I will be gone next week because I am traveling to a place east of here. Far east. Easter than I've ever been before. I will see unfamiliar mountains in the east, which are very different than the mountains we have here in the west. Told they're spookier? I don't know, they're certainly shorter. Anyways, so if you can piece together where I'm going from that, I guess leave it in the comments. Yeah, you know, like see if you can figure out where I'm going. How to give a hint specifically. A blacksmith. That's your clue. Old Mountains Blacksmithery. So, good luck. See you next time. Bye-bye.